Well, thank you, everybody, and thank you, James, for the introduction. Brett and I are really excited about sharing with you this session on ArcGIS Survey123. If not already, please download the slides from this URL. You are going to find all the slides and also the exercise. If you don't do it now, well, you can do it later too. And as soon as the chat is available, I will paste this URL in the chat window so it is easier for everybody. So with that, I'm going to start because we are already running out of time. This is a map that shows the locations from which many of you are coming from. We have people from Sri Lanka, from Myanmar, Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, Vietnam. We have people from Hong Kong, from the Philippines, and of course, we don't forget our colleagues from New Zealand. It's kind of late for them, so we want to thank you for joining so late. We asked before this session started about your skills with Survey123, and these are the statistics. Pretty much half of you have never used Survey123, so don't worry, we will use this session to get you up to speed. I hope you will learn many things. Some of you have some experience already. It's good. We even have 5 ninjas among ourselves. I'm sure you will learn something even though you are already using the product. I also asked you to share some photos. So here we have some photos of your favorite places. It's interesting. I'm intrigued by this photo here. I wonder if this is maybe Lake Titicaca in South America, but the photo is from someone in New Zealand. So I wonder if you guys got these alpacas in New Zealand. Anyways, we have also this photo from Seattle in the US, and these awesome photos as well of favorite places. I also asked for recipes, and we got these 3. And you can see we have a vegan option. We also have a meat lover type of dish. So it's thank you for sharing these recipes as well, and some photos of attendees, which you can see here. And I love it because most of you are smiling, so that's excellent. That's a good thing. There is a photo of a cat. I wasn't sure if this was a place. No, it's not a place. Is it a selfie? I hope not. So it must be a recipe, maybe. So you like cats. Let's just start with the session. This is the agenda for today. We are going to start with an intro to Survey123, brief, don't worry. And then we're going to start hands-on. I want to remind you that for the hands-on session, you need to have an ArcGIS account. So if not already, if you don't have an ArcGIS account, Brett is going to help you. Okay, Brett will help you get the ArcGIS account in place. That is why it's so important to have the chat. Hopefully, James, you figured already how to enable the chat for everybody. If you don't have an ArcGIS account, please use the chat to let us know so Brett can help you. So with that, we're going to start the introduction. Forms are kind of interesting, right? A form is basically a typed document with blank spaces for insertion of required information in them. And we use forms almost every day. Forms apply to many industries and for many workflows. Damage assessments, incident reports, inspections, interviews, lots of things use forms. So helping or understanding how to design good forms is always a great skill to have. With Survey123, you can create forms that work online in a web browser, and you can share them with everybody. You can also build smart forms that run within a mobile device. So even if you are disconnected, you can use the form and capture information. The great thing about Survey123 forms is that these forms work on top of ArcGIS, and they are location-aware forms. You can capture geographic information from your forms. And because it's part of ArcGIS, all this data can be shown live, real-time in dashboards. Survey also includes out-of-the-box reporting capabilities, so you can create high-quality PDF reports, including maps and photos and tables. On top of that, and we will learn this, you can also automate workflows to integrate Survey123 with larger business processes. Here are some scenarios where people create Survey123 forms. Asset inspections, of course. With Survey123, you can create asset inspection forms that deliver an intuitive user experience and, very important, sophisticated data validation rules. Asset inspections forms often run on mobile devices, and these mobile devices and Survey123 can be integrated with external sensors, such as a laser rangefinder or even external GNSS receivers for better spatial accuracy. Today, we are not going to talk about asset inspections or the mobile app, but I want to bring this up so you remember that this is actually possible with Survey. Surveys are also used for emergency response and public safety. As I described, these surveys work on mobile devices for the emergency response teams, but also as online surveys. And today, the exercise is about an emergency response scenario. We are going to create an online survey. We will talk about that in a second. Survey123 is also used to perform interviews through a computer, through the web, through the telephone, through a tablet. In these photos, you can see some photos that our Survey123 team took while in the Philippines. They were helping the National Statistics Office at the Philippines set up their population census forms with Survey123. What this is telling us is that Survey123 is built to handle very, very sophisticated forms that often have hundreds of questions in them. They are highly scalable, secure, and robust. Other organizations also use Survey123 for citizen science and crowdsourcing. A great example is the United States National Park Service. They use Survey123 regularly to support their citizen science projects, where people use Survey123 forms to snap photos of field observations and map them accurately for further analysis. Survey123 is also used on the web to perform online surveys, research. In this case, in this screenshot, you can see how the United Nations World Food Programme is using Survey123 with online forums to gather information from citizens, and then they create reports. This is the Food Security and Livelihood Impact Survey. It was run earlier in the year for the Caribbean countries. And as I said before, all the information gathered through this Survey123 online form was pushed into a real-time dashboard. This information was critical for public policy making. How do you know what's going on out there? A survey can help you gather information from the public to guide public policy. Really, anytime you see a form on paper or people using Microsoft Excel to kind of take notes of things, you can transform these paper forms and obsolete spreadsheet forms into Survey123 digital forms, surveys that bring your data into ArcGIS for visualization and analysis. Really, forms are in everyone's life every day. The world actually runs on forms because forms feed organizations with data that sustain business processes. Understanding how to design good forms is a great skill to have. It can help you transform the way people work in your organization to do all sorts of things. Survey123 as a product, as technology, is really powerful, is secure, very scalable, proven, and easy to learn, as you will find out very soon. Today, we are going to give you one session on Survey123, but as you know, we have put together a series, okay? So today we are going to learn how to create an online survey, but then in the next weeks, we will learn about workflow automation, about Survey123 reports, field data collection with the mobile app, and even we will have a session on advanced techniques for building smart forms and asset inspections as well. So if you haven't signed up for these upcoming sessions, I encourage you to do so. So let's get into the heart of what we want to do today, creating an online survey. Remember that this is a hands-on session, so you are actually going to create your own survey. Again, you need an ArcGIS account with publishing permissions for this exercise. The exercise today is going to revolve around a property damage report. This is not something that I made up last minute. This is actually people do quite a bit. This screenshot, as you can see, is from Twitter. It was taken not long ago. You may not know, but the US in the East Coast was hit recently by a series of hurricanes. And the states, county government, even local government used Survey123 to ask citizens about the damage to their properties. So I thought that was kind of an interesting workflow that we could go through. This might not be exactly what you want to do in your real life, but I think you will learn with it. This is the tweet. Actually, you can see this is coming from the Louisiana Governor's Office for Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness. And they are asking people to literally scan this QR code and report damage to their property. Alternatively, you can go to damage.la.gov. Let's go there for a second. Damage.la.gov. This, no surprise, takes you into a Survey123 form. This is the form they created. They put their own logo, a disclaimer at the beginning, and then, classic questions. What's your name? What's your phone number? What weather system caused damage to your property, say Delta? When did the damage occur? So this is a date question, right? What's your address, the city, the zip code, and then questions of different types. You can see that these forms are kind of smart in a way, in that if depending on the responses you provide, then other questions get shown or hidden. It's kind of interesting. They added lots of questions, as you can see, some of them with hints. You see this? That's a hint. The hint is basically text that helps you better understand what they are asking you. In this case, the hint links to another document where they describe what should be considered major impact versus minor versus destroyed. So, we're not going to go into the details of this, but we are going to build something similar to this in the exercise. As the data gets submitted, of course, data gets sent into ArcGIS for analysis. So this is basically the overall use case that we want to follow today. In the interest of time, we're going to do a simplified version of this online survey. I'm going to give you a quick demo. I will create a survey, submit data, and then view that data. I'm not going to create exactly the same survey that you are going to create, but I guess the point here is look carefully, because you will need to do something similar to what I am about to do. So first of all, I'm going to open a web browser. And in the web browser, I'm going to go into survey123.arcgis.com. You do not have to do this right now, okay? You will do it in just 7 minutes or so. I go into survey and then I sign in. Why do I need to sign in? Because I'm going to create my own form. It needs to be persisted, stored under my account, okay? So once I log in, I get a gallery. This gallery gives me access to all the surveys that I have created. In your case, it might be empty, but you are going to find this Create New Survey button. In Survey, we have two tools to design smart forms. Today, we're going to use the Web Designer. It helps you get started quickly and is best for simple surveys. The beautiful thing about Web Designer is that it works on your browser. You don't need really anything other than a web browser to use this. And here you can see you can type in the name of the survey, the tags. You can even apply a thumbnail to make it pretty. And then this creates your empty survey. in this case. This is what we call the web designer. The web designer is visual, it's no code, and runs on your browser. So basically, the left side of the screen is your design preview. When you click on elements in your design preview, the right panel shows up, so you can edit characteristics of these elements. For example, I'm going to click on the banner, and I'm going to center the text in the middle. I'm going to change the label. I'm going to click on the submit button, and I'm going to change the text, send damage report, right? Equally, I can go into the description and say, I can add here, use this form to report an incident. It's just a description, right? So again, every time you click, the right panel activates so you can edit the properties of these elements. The add section in here actually presents different question types that you can drag into your design. So in my case, for example, I want to capture the date and the time when this incident happens. So I'm going to look for the date time question type, and I simply drag and drop. You see, anybody can do this. So if I click on this element, again, I can edit its properties. So I can change the label. And as you can see, we can set a default value, and we can even enter validation rules. Super important to get crystal clear data and high quality data. I can flag this question as required. I can limit the entries within a certain range of dates, etc. Next, I'm going to capture the priority. The priority of this incident. Is it high priority, medium priority, low priority? So for this, I'm going to use the single choice question, okay? So you can see here, single choice. This presents me a list of choices from which I can select one option. So I'm going to say here, priority. And then I can set the choices. I can say high, medium, and low. We made Designer easy, so anyone could create forms quickly. You can change the appearance to horizontal, vertical, make the question required or not. And you can, I really love this, the batch edit. You see the batch edit here allows me to copy paste options from, say, Excel into Survey123 very quickly. So one of the most common mistakes people make, and I see this again and again, I just saw a survey this morning where people made this mistake. People confuse single choice with multiple choice, okay? So people drag often this and they say, oh yeah, you know, choices, that's what I like. So they say, well, I'm going to do priority, I'm going to call this multiple, okay? Just so we differentiate. And I'm going to use now the batch edit and paste. So they kind of look the same, right? I kind of like the squares, so I'm going to go with that. Big mistake. Because this is a question where the responses are mutually exclusive. The priority is either high or medium, but it cannot be both. So if I come here, you see this is a multiple choice section. You can select multiple choices. That's not what we want in this case. If you are building a checklist, yes, but for this, you don't want a multiple choice question. You want a single choice question. So you couldn't imagine how many times people use these for mutually exclusive responses. So I guess the point is made. Hopefully you don't make that mistake, right? So I'm going to delete that question and get back to priority. If you look carefully here, though, you can rearrange the choices, right, in your list. You can also set default values for your questions by clicking here. You can even allow other, like other priority. Not my case, so I'm going to just disable that. Next, I'm going to add a multi-line text question, okay, here, for people to enter comments. And here again, we have data validation rules. For example, I can set the minimum number of characters, say 10, and the maximum, I can say 200. right? Or I can simply let people type whatever they want. In this case, we have a 255 characters, which I could change if I want. I want also in my form an email contact. And you know what? We actually have a question called email, right? So we can drag this over and then enter here email, right? And I can make this required. For my incident report, I'm also going to add a map. This is the location of the incident. So I'm going to change the location, the label. And here you will see that you can actually, in your map question, define what is the geography that you want. Is this a point, a line, or an area? So in other words, people can actually, let's go and preview this. You can have a form where people can draw a polygon, right? To capture a polygon in your layer. So here is the preview. You can see that we have this button to center, at the location where you are. And now I can start drawing here a polygon. That is the shape, the geometry that I'm capturing for the incident report. To make things easy today, I'm actually interested in points. The map, you can set to your liking. For example, you can change the default extent. You can also change the base map that you want to use for people to have some context. And you can also make it required, of course. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to create rules. Rules are very important in a form because they allow us to hide and show questions depending on the responses from the user. So we have an image type of question here, and this allows people to add photos, okay? So I'm going to call this photos. And here I'm going to say, look, I want people to send me a minimum of 1 photo and a maximum of 3 photos through this form. But I only want photos when the priority is high. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this question, which drives the rule. And I'm going to say, set the rule, right? So for this option to appear, you need to select the choice question. And then you click here and you say, if the priority is high, then I want to show photos. Otherwise, I don't. In this quick tour of Survey123, we mostly use edit and add, but you can also switch to the appearance. And this is very important. You have full control over what this form is going to look like. You can change the background color, the images, the color of the text, and gazillion things. And this is important because often you want these forms to be part of a website. So you want the colors to match the website where your survey is going to run. And also we have the settings for your survey. Here we have the thank you screen. This is the screen that appears after people submit data. So here we can say, thanks for submitting this incident. We will contact you soon. For example, you can add here links, images, you can change the color of the text and many other things. You can also enable this option for people to submit another survey. So if I uncheck, you send the data, you are done. But if you check this option, people can press here to submit another survey. Once you are happy with this, you can go and hit publish, right? So I'm going to click publish. And what is happening now? So what is happening now is that Survey123 goes through all the questions in my design. And it creates a table. In that table, all the responses will be stored. For every question, we add a new column. So for the date time question, we create a date time column. For the email question, we create a text column. For the location, we create a point geometry column, right? And this is all stored in ArcGIS. You really don't have to worry too much about it, but that's really what is going on. So now I can actually, you see this dialog here, it tells me the survey has been published. Now you can access the link. So if I click here, this opens the link to my survey. Okay, so from here I can now start collecting data. So I enter my email. I'm going to enter the location where I am. I'm going to set priority high, and now I'm going to snap a photo. So I'm going to click here, say right on, and then I'm going to add comments. This is a test, and then I'm going to send the damage report. Okay, cool. So now I could actually click here and submit yet another request. I like this survey, I'm good to go. So the next step is to share. So I go into collaborate so people can access my survey, because at this moment, only I can submit data. But now I can choose to share this with everyone, okay? So I'm going to click on save. And now anyone with access to this QR code can actually submit. So if you use your phone, and you scan this QR code, you will be able to send data. So I encourage you to scan the QR code and send data, and you will see what happens.
We have one question here from Julian asking, can you change the symbology of your features in the map?
Actually, you can. Yes, you can. So let's hold on that question. I'm going to wait for this, this data to come in. Hopefully people are submitting data already. So I'm going to switch here to the data view. Oh, there you go, right? So we have Audrey has submitted. There you go. We are starting to see some of this data come in. Oh, look at that, right? That's my point, okay? So the question is, can you change this symbology? Of course you can. So what happens here when you create a survey is that a layer is created within ArcGIS.com. So I'm going to log in into ArcGIS.com. And for those of you that are new into ArcGIS, this might be all over your heads. But this is like the engine of Survey123, right? When you create a survey in the product, under the covers, we are actually creating things in ArcGIS Online or ArcGIS Enterprise. And you can see here I have gazillion forms that I have been creating. So here is my incident report, and here we have the feature layer. So you see this guy, the feature layer. This is where the data is being persisted. Again, this is way too much if you are new into ArcGIS, but look at all the data that is coming already, okay? If I go back to survey and I hit this guy, refresh, right? Oh, there you go, oh my God, beautiful, beautiful. You are sending all this data. In fact, I can have a look at your information here, and maybe some of you have submitted photos. Oh, there you go, here's a photo, right on, I love it. Anyways, this is all under the covers, right? This is my data. So here, this layer, you can change the visualization. So here I'm going to say, for example, I'm going to go and say, change the symbology and represent the data using the field priority. And now I'm going to go into options. You see high, medium, low. I'm going to leave this as it is, just in the interest of time. I save the layer. And now if I come back here, to my data tab, I see the new symbology popping up. Is that making sense? You can even control the base map that gets shown in your Survey123 form, like this guy, okay? You can control that base map as well. Anyways, I'm going to keep moving because otherwise time flies and you cannot do the exercise. So let me switch back to PowerPoint. So it's time for you to create your own online survey. We are going to provide you a step-by-step instructions, okay? So I'm going to go to the first slide here so you guys can copy this URL. And there you go. So please download the instructions. This is a compressed file that contains a PowerPoint and the Word document. So you just go and follow the instructions. It will take you 20 minutes, okay? If you have any questions, speak up. You can post your question in the chat window, and with help from James and from Brett, we will help you out. Do not get stuck. Take opportunity of the fact that we are here to help you, okay? Once you are done, please add a comment to the chat saying I'm finished so we can keep moving. I'm going to give you 20 minutes, okay? It may only take 15, but you go, go, go. Okay, time is up. We need to continue, otherwise we're going to run out of time. So thank you everybody for following the instructions. Again, you can continue later on. My recommendation is just don't get too obsessed with the exercise. You can always continue the exercise later. So now let me share with you a few things you should actually know. Where is this data going, right? You create the survey, and where is that data going? Well, you guys are using ArcGIS Online at the moment. These accounts you are using are from ArcGIS Online. So your data goes into ArcGIS Online. ArcGIS Online is part of Esri's geospatial cloud. So all this data goes into servers, machines that we own in Esri. And that's kind of a good thing because it's a scalable environment, it is secure, it is robust. So ArcGIS Online is being used every day, every second. So it's highly, highly scalable. It's always going to be there. Now, sometimes you may want your data to be stored in your own servers. Security reasons, you want your data, say, in your own office. You can do that, okay? So you can configure Survey123 to work against ArcGIS Enterprise, which is a product that allows you to set up your own ArcGIS platform within your infrastructure. More things you should know. You can create as many surveys as you like. Once you have an account with publishing permissions, no limits, 1, 10, a million surveys, your call. If you share your surveys publicly, anyone can submit data. We will learn very briefly more about this concept of sharing, okay? In my initial demo, I did share publicly, but the instructions in the Word document didn't talk about sharing. But don't worry, we will talk about this. The point is, you can create a survey and share it publicly. So anyone with a link to your survey can submit data, okay? So in this scenario we have for the hurricane, you want that. You don't want people to have an account to submit data. You want them to submit data right away. And that's how you do it. You share the survey publicly. No limits. Now, if you want to keep your survey private, you can too. So I can share a link with you that will not work unless you log in with an ArcGIS account. That's totally doable too. You can make these surveys private to your own organization or to a small group of people within your organization. We update survey very frequently. In every release brings new features and enhancements. In fact, tomorrow we will release a new version. The beauty of ArcGIS Online is that that version gets released and you can take advantage of it. Right? You don't have to do anything special. All the new question types or security features we add are going to be there for you tomorrow. The only exception, though, is all these surveys that you have already published, we don't touch them. And we do that on purpose because sometimes when software gets updated, we break things. Or sometimes we add features that change the behavior of the survey. And you know what? You may not like them, right? You may want to have full control over the surveys that you have already published. So this is an important thing to keep in mind. We update the software, it gets better. Any new survey you create gets all the features. But any survey you may already have, we will not touch it. We promise, we don't touch it, right? So nothing changes. Now, if you want to take advantage of the latest capabilities of the software with old surveys, all you need to do is to click Publish Again. There is actually a complete discussion in GeoNet that describes how you can upgrade your surveys. It's really one tap. I want to open just 5 minutes for a few questions that you may have. So next, we're going to talk about sharing your survey. And this is very important because I want to make sure that you can create a survey, but also that you can keep your data secure. Even if you share your survey publicly, you don't have to make your data public. I'm going to say this again. You can share a survey with everybody and keep your data private. Okay, that's what we want most time anyways. So that's something that we are going to learn in the next few slides. The other aspect is that when you are sharing your survey, you can share your survey with survey takers, people who will send data to you. You can also share your survey results. And these are two very different things. Let's talk about that. First of all, a survey is only visible to the survey owner unless you share it. You share your survey and survey results separately. Sharing is controlled through the Collaborate tab. You can see here the diagram. You have a survey. You can share the survey with a group of people to submit data. And separately, you can define a different group of people so they can view the results of your survey. Two very different things. When you are sharing your survey with people to submit data, what are the things you need to think about? Well, who can submit data to my survey? Is it a group within my organization, anyone within my organization, or anyone with the link? You have to think about what permissions you want to enable. Do you want people to simply add new records, or do you want them to also view and update existing records? These are things that you can control. You can also control when can people submit data. You can say, I share my survey with everybody, but only this weekend they can submit data. You can create a time window when people can submit data. You can even control if people can submit data multiple times from their web browser or just once. So this is in terms of sharing your survey with people, okay? I said you can also share your survey results, totally different. This is not for people to submit data. This is for people to look at your data. Who should have access to your survey results? You know, sometimes nobody. Only you will have access to the survey results. That is your call. But you can share your results with people within your org, anyone within your org, but also with anyone, with everyone if you want. There are other properties that you can control, and we will actually see this in a second. I'm going to give you a super quick demo of this. You may remember I created before in the demo, the incident report survey, okay, this guy. So if I go to Collaborate right here, I switch from the design view to Collaborate. Here I can control the sharing. And this is the point. You can share your survey. You can also share your results. Separate things, right? This share survey is when you want to share your data, your survey, with people that are going to submit data. In this case, I say everyone can submit. But then I'm going to switch to share the results. Who can look at my results? Only I can see these results. Unless I come here and I open up my survey results, nobody can see them, right? Is that making sense? This is share the survey versus share the results. So if I share my survey, you need to decide who, what. So I could say, I only want people to add new records. So I really like this option when the data is sensitive. If the data is sensitive, you have personal data, always click this guy, because this guarantees that everyone can submit data and only people in these groups can actually look at the data. So even if I try to hack the survey, if you come here and you say only add new records, nobody can look at the data, right? Unless you open the gates in this tab. The other thing is, what can submitters do? How many submissions, right? People can make. You can allow people to submit multiple times or only once per browser. And this is the time window, right? You can say, I want to open my survey from the 15th through the 17th. And this is, the message that I want to show when people come and the survey is closed, right? It's very powerful, right? The survey status. This works with online surveys that you are creating, okay? If I switch to share results again, you can share with different groups. And the idea here is that if someone within this group logs in to the Survey123 website, they will see their survey. So if you come to the gallery, now I'm looking at surveys that I own, but I can also say, show me surveys I can view results for. These are surveys that people have shared with me, so I can see the results of those surveys. This is not a survey I own, right? This is a survey someone else created for me to look at the data. So in this case, it's well, whatever, doesn't matter what this is, right? But you can see that while I'm not the owner, I can actually see all the data. When was the data submitted? What is the data that gets submitted? I can look at all the responses, right, from this survey. So this is actually really, really powerful, right? Sharing the results and sharing the survey, both things, very, very different. The other thing is, I want to talk a little bit about the links. I had a slide here, right? Like understanding links. You can create different types of links and share your survey and results through those. So let me go back here. I'm going to go into a survey I own, and then I'm going to go into the collaborate. Use collaborate option in here. So when I am sharing my survey, I have the links at the top. I can create a link and share it with you, so the survey opens in the web browser. Alternatively, I could say no. Switch this. You see, this is a different link, right? These links opens my survey in the mobile application. Not only in my phone, but in the native Survey123 application, so I can work offline. So it's really up to you. You can even use this. This is kind of an interesting one. Let me paste this in my browser. This is like a menu option. This is a link where you can actually choose if you want to open the survey in the browser or in the field app. So, try to keep things simple. Actually, the menu is available, but quite frankly, just try to keep it simple for people. Share a link to the web or to the field app. You also have the QR code that you can use. This is the QR code for the web-based version of the survey. This is the QR code for the mobile application. And the same with the results. You see, when you share your results, this is the link, not to the survey, but to the results, right? So if I share my link here, right? And now I share this link with you. I'm going to open a different browser, okay? I'm in a different browser here. I'm going to paste this link, and this link will open the results of the survey. So anyone can come in here and actually look at the data. You see, these are the results of the survey. I cannot submit. These are some of the photos that you guys have submitted, right? You may remember this. People can submit, but people can look at the results, but they cannot submit. Anyways, let's keep going. And remember, if you have questions, use the chat window so Brett and James can help answer those later on. Okay, the last section is viewing and analyzing results of your survey. I think this is also very interesting because a lot of people kind of goes over this. It's like they don't realize how many things we have in survey to help you view and analyze your data. So just for clarity, data submitted from survey is immediately available. When we were playing with the incident survey before, I could always go into a browser and then let me go and open here and go into the data view, remember? And then I could click on this guy, refresh, to see all the data coming in, okay? So as soon as you submit, I see it, which I think is like super powerful already. Now, this data you can view in different ways. We have the Overview tab, the Data tab, and the Analyze tab. We are going to have a look at all of them. The Overview page is this one, okay, the Overview. This basically shows how many records have been submitted and by how many participants. Now, the participants are tricky. This deserves an explanation. So when I submitted data through my incident report, I was logged in. That's why it says Ismael submitted 1 record. When you submitted data, you were not logged in. That's why you all show as an anonymous user. But if you had an Esri account and you were logged in, then I could see your names in here. And then the number of participants increases. Is that making sense? So the word participants might be a little bit misleading here. It's more like how many ArcGIS accounts, if you wish, have been different ArcGIS accounts have been submitting data to the survey. In this case, 1 Esri account plus the anonymous user 2. Then is the date when we got the first submission and the last. And look at this, we can also control and say, show me today, when a time window for today and when are people sending data. This gets pretty interesting when you have a lot of data because you can see, maybe the chart going down over the weekend, then going up on Monday. You can understand when people are submitting data to your surveys. This is the overview, pretty simple. Okay. The second tab is data. Data helps you look at survey records individually. So here you can see that in data, we can look at every record individually. I can see them in a map. I can see them on the table. So in the table, I can click and say, okay, where is this record in my map? Philippines. And you can see here the exact location, right? That was flagged. We can see the email and all the responses, right, to that particular survey. You can also click on records in the map, see them on the form view and the table. Now, the data tab is very powerful in that you can actually use it to edit, right? So if I double click on the cell, I can say hello, I say bye, right? So you can actually change the data from here. You can change the data in the table or in this form view. You see this button here, edit this record. So this loads the record as a form, and then I can use the form view to actually edit the record. And this will be familiar because this is the actual form that I authored, right? So I can switch from medium to say low. And then I click here, and this actually changes the record. This is fantastic for QA, QC workflows. The other thing is you can also delete. So in my case, I go to the very bottom, I select my record, and I say, oh, this was my test, so I'm going to delete the record, right? Boom, is gone. From data, you can also filter. So I can say, show me everything where priority is medium, and then apply, and I only see the blue dots, right? And now that I have a selection, I can say export to Excel, for example, to export the data. I can also use the time window, right? So show me only records submitted today where the priority is equal to high, and then apply, and you get your records in. So this is, in a nutshell, data. The last tab we have, and I'm almost done here, we are kind of running out of time, is the Analyze. The Analyze tab is useful to understand trends in the data. So I'm going to switch to the Analyze tab now, and you will see that here, this is really not about looking at individual records. Here we get questions, and we sort of summarize the questions. So take priority, for example. You see, this shows me what is going on. How many high priority records have been added? 22. How many low? 7, right? You can see the percentages. You can represent this as a pie chart. You can represent this even in a map. So where are the high priority items, for example, right? So you can bring here the legend and have a look at the map. For comments, the comments are interesting. When you have free text, it's difficult to summarize that. So we create this word cloud highlighting the words that get repeated more often, right? But also here you can see that you can switch between a word count versus the show responses. So this will actually show all the responses from everybody, one after another, right? So this helps you, again, analyze trends. Just like we did in data, you can filter by attribute, by question, by date, etc. Okay. One of the things I really love about the analyze window is that if you say, look, I want this to be represented as a pie chart, and then if I go to the say the navigation chart, I actually don't want to show the photos, right? So the photos are disabled. I don't see them in the report. Now I can click here, get the URL, and then share it with someone. And then that person can look at this exact report with my preferences for the chart, the questions that are visible, etc. So this is the Analyze tab. We're going to basically move on to the what's coming next week and how to learn more, okay? So to learn more, first thing I suggest for you is to go into the Survey123 GeoNet group. You have here the URL. You can also Google. If you Google Survey123, one word, note there is no space between Survey and 123, right? Survey123 and then GeoNet, and you get to this group. Follow the group because you can ask your questions right in here. And the Survey123 team, along with the survey community, are 24/7 in here. So you can get responses very quickly. You can also learn more from the blog where we have announcements or we have articles with details and tips and tricks and things like that. So this question, Brett, about loading my data and using survey forms to edit the information, we can do that. In fact, we have actually an entire blog describing how you can use these online forms to update, to edit existing data. So it's no rocket science. It can be done, and we can use GeoNet to help you out. The other thing is Esri has many online classes. This is from Esri Academy. Esri Academy is for Esri customers only, and this is like a class for online surveys. This is in the PowerPoint that you downloaded, so the link is there. You can actually go and follow the class. On top of Esri Academy, we also have learn.arcgis.com, different website. And for this, all you need is an Esri account. It can be a free account, and you can take classes. This is the gallery of Survey123 classes. Those are free classes and cover many aspects of survey, from online surveys to mobile devices and such. Of course, we also want to encourage you to join us next week. So what are we going to talk about next week in this next session? Today we did online surveys. Next, we're going to talk about workflow automation. So what is this thing about workflow automation? So today you learn how to, and you're going to get data, right, from it. With workflow automation, you can actually trigger emails every time a survey is submitted. You can load data from your surveys as it gets submitted into an Excel spreadsheet. Okay, that's like what workflow automation means. You can decide what happens when people submit a survey. What happens there? Do I send an SMS, an email, or do I store the data in a database? That's what workflow automation is. We will be using Microsoft Power Automate. So if you want to play next week, you need an Office 365 account. You actually can create an Office 365 account for free and follow the instructions in here. It should be a very fun session. It's a little bit more advanced than this one, but it's again not rocket science. This is a no-code session for workflow automation. So that's what's coming next week. With that, maybe Brett, if there are any questions, we take them. Otherwise, we say goodbye to you. So Brett, any other questions?
Yeah, just one more question, just about, I think there's a couple that have come up, just more about publishing and then republishing a survey. So being able to continually, I guess, improve your survey or change it. And I did respond one, so that is definitely possible, but there are some limitations with it. And one of the limitations I listed there was being able to change, for example, the geometry of a survey, so the underlying feature layer. If you set that as a point, you can't then go back and change it to a different geometry, so you couldn't change that to a line or a polygon. And adding a question or removing an extra question is possible as well. There are you can run into situations, yeah, like I said, with limitations there. So
right.
The field app especially.
Let me just, rather than telling people, let's show them just a little bit, okay? So here's my survey. I want to fix a typo. I come in, date, date and time. I fix that, I publish it, boom, done. So the next time people load the survey, the label is changed. This is a very easy change. As you said, Brett, there are some changes that are not that easy, okay? So we are going to talk about that as well. For example, say I want to delete a question. So I'm going to go and delete the comments, okay? So I'm going to delete the question. Do you want to delete the question? Yes, goes with it. And now I say publish. So here it tells me, look, you just deleted a question. Do you want to delete the question from the form and the data? Because you have 37 comments that people added. If I click here, this will delete the field from the database as well as the question from the form. So you have to be careful with this one, right? You can always kind of go back and say, oh, I'm going to go back to the gallery. So, you know, these changes don't get changed, right? So let's go back into the design. The other one is adding questions, and adding questions, pretty easy. Let's add a signature question. I add the signature question, signature, and then I publish, and it's like no problem, no questions asked, right? You add a new question, we automatically create a field, we are done. So the next time people open this survey, the signature question will be there, right? Then there are other more tricky things, as you said, Brett. So you see, I go into my location question. Remember, I said my map question is going to be a point. Look at this. I can change the label. I can change the hint. I can change many things, but not the geometry. This is a limitation in ArcGIS. Once you create a layer with points, you cannot make it a polyline layer. That's why this is disabled, right? The geometry type cannot be changed once the survey is published. So you still want the polygon. What do? Well, here's what you do. You go back to my surveys, and then you say, take this survey and create a new one, okay, with a different name. So I'm going to say this is version 34, okay? And you save this as a new survey. And because this survey has not been published yet, you can actually change the geometry, okay? We will see that in a second. So this is my version 34. I come here, and now I can switch to line. Now, once I publish, you cannot change that. Is that making sense? So these are some of the, you know, weird corners of publishing and republishing your surveys.
One little extra bit there, Ishmael. Elaine just asked if republishing the survey will change the form URL.
Great question.
So the actual URL.
Yeah, totally. So the answer is, well, no, actually. If I go back to version 33, you may remember that I added the signature question. So if I open this, if you refresh the browser, if you still in your mobile device have the survey URL, you can hit refresh and the signature question will appear. So the URL did not change. That's the beauty of it. You can fix a typo, and then if you have your survey in Twitter, Facebook, on a website, people just get the latest and greatest. When I saved my survey, that's different, right? Like version 34, this is a different survey. So the URL to this guy is actually different.
And also, I think people have seen, Ishmael, the URL changing depending on the collaborate settings. So
yes,
maybe that's the short URL if you just want to show that.
Sure.
Well.
Yeah, let's go to collaborate here. There you go. So the URL is changing. Why is it changing, right? Well, because basically all these URLs point to the same survey, but this link opens the survey in the browser directly. This one opens the same survey in the mobile app, and this opens the same survey through a menu. The other thing is, when I get this guy, I copy this. This is a shortened URL. I get that one and I paste it in my browser, and then I hit enter, and suddenly, boom, becomes something much bigger, right? Well, this is just because we want to make your life a little bit easier. So when you come here, we give you a shortened URL. Often it's better to have a smaller URL in a newspaper, in a website, than have the full-blown URL with all these weird characters. So it's basically pointing to the same survey, right? Okay.
Hi, Ismail.
Yes.
This is Zoe. Can I just answer some commonly asked questions regards to the account, the recording, and the licensing? I'll be real quick.
Yes.
Okay. Hey, everybody, a lot of you have been asking if there will be recording available. Yes, there will be. It should be available for you in 24 hours. Once it's available, we'll send you an email notification. The second point is, it seems many of you are still not having an ArcGIS Online account. If you don't, we will send out another email with a survey link. Please fill out the survey link so our team can send you a registration account. And the third question commonly asked is about licensing. So I have posted my email address in the chat box. If you have questions regards to licensing, please feel free to connect with me offline. I'm happy to explain the details and connect you with our local representative office. That's all for me, Ismail.
Thank you, Zoe, and thank you, James, as well, for the opportunity to present. Brett and I are really excited about continuing these sessions, and we hope to see all of you and even more people next week for the workflow automation seminar with Survey123. Thank you, everybody.